Welcome back to Her Hoops, the channel where we don't sugarcoat, we don't tiptoe, and we sure as hell don't pretend everything in the WNBA is sunshine and high fives. No, around here, we call it exactly how it is. And today we have a moment so awkward, so icy, so painfully uncomfortable that the entire internet collectively leaned back and said, ooh, she did not want to see him.
Across the country, yet somehow, some way, you find yourself right here in front of me asking questions. Oh goodness. Folks, you ever have that one person that you'll be around, whether it's at work, right? Whether it was at school growing up, maybe a family reunion, a family gathering, a get-together, the in-law shows up, the cousin shows up, the uncle, the aunt, and then just instantly, as soon as they arrive, the energy just shifts.
Because Caitlin Clark, America's golden rookie, the face of the Fever, the media magnet, the ratings machine, just had one of the most visibly disgusted, emotionally obvious, I'd rather be anywhere but here reactions we've seen from her all season. And the target of that reaction? Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files, the man who somehow manages to show up everywhere the Fever go, including places Caitlin clearly didn't expect to see him. The moment his voice entered the room, it was like watching someone's soul briefly leave their body.
And a beat reporter, somebody who's around the team often, and I like them. They show up somewhere where I'm not expecting them. I'm like, oh, dude, what are you doing here? Oh man, great to see you. Yeah, you got any other questions? Right? You're gonna crack a smile. You're gonna light up. You're out somewhere. You see a friend you haven't seen in quite some time. Oh man, what's going on? Right? You lighten up a little bit. You get excited. But when you see somebody you don't like.
Her head dropped, her eyes cut to the floor, her whole face tightened like she just swallowed expired milk. She didn't hide it, she didn't mask it, she didn't fake a smile. No, Caitlin Clark went full, oh God, not this dude again. And trust me folks, this wasn't normal, because we all know what Caitlin looks like when she actually likes a reporter. The smile, the eye contact, the warmth, the oh hey, great to see you energy. But with Scott Agnes, she looked like someone who got stuck in an elevator with their least favorite coworker. Every micro expression screamed,
Frank, go for it.
Galen, Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files. I'm just curious, what was it like to have that competitive juices?
Damn. Head down, like damn. No eye contact, damn.
Running through you once again, even though and then also putting on a show as someone who knows the fans are here to see you.
Yeah, I mean, like these are the things that you love, like being competitive, and you know, even when I go out and play with family or friends or whoever, like you make it competitive. Like you don't just go out there and hit the ball, like you make a game out of it. You know?
Let's get this over with. Today on Her Hoops, we're diving into exactly what happened, why it matters, and the real reasons this cold front between Caitlin Clark and Scott Agnes has been building for months. This isn't random, this isn't petty, and this sure as hell isn't accidental. This is tension that's been simmering, and it finally boiled over on camera. Before we break down the exact moment the tension exploded on camera, we need to rewind the tape way back, because Caitlin Clark's reaction to Scott Agnes didn't just appear out of thin air.
To a different question that Caitlin Clark fielded, shall we? Let's just compare the two. Let's just compare how she's like, oh shit. Let me muster up. Let me muster it up. Get it together, Caitlin. Get it together. Now, let's look at something a little bit more genuine, shall we?
Lynn, I'm Caroline Collins from Visit St. Pete Clearwater over here. Hi, great job out there.
Damn! Look at that. Look at that smile.
This wasn't a one-off. This wasn't, oops, bad mood. No, this moment was the culmination of months of friction, frustration, and subtle jabs piling up between the most talked-about rookie in basketball and the beat reporter who somehow keeps ending up on the wrong side of her fan base. Let's start with the obvious. Caitlin Clark cares about her image. She knows the cameras are always on. She knows millions of people break down every facial expression, every sentence, every micro moment. She's polished, calculated, media-trained, and generally unfailingly polite, even when she shouldn't have to be. So the fact that she couldn't hide her reaction, yeah, that means something. And to understand it, you have to remember the two major controversies that put Scott Agnes in the crosshairs of Fever fans.
Just wanted to ask you if you and your teammates got to do anything fun in the St. Pete Clearwater area, and just what you think of this beautiful place.
So, I mean, I got here.
She treated her like she's the one that had been following the team around, like, oh, buddy, oh, man, so nice to see you over here. Yeah, let me answer your question.
late last night, and I'll be leaving once this press conference ends, but I actually grew up vacationing here. This is the city that my family always came, and I have a couple of family members that own places on the beach here in St. Petersburg. So like, this place is actually really special to me and my family, and it's really fun. Like, I was flying in and I was...
And by extension, right in Caitlin's line of emotional fire. First, Scott Agnes was the reporter who described Fever supporters. Yes, the same fans who follow every move Caitlin makes, the same fans who travel city to city, as the dark side. He implied that Clark's popularity brought negativity, toxicity, and chaos with it. You don't think Caitlin heard that? You don't think it irritated her that someone covering her own team was smearing the very people who show up for her every night? Then came strike two, and this one hit way harder. Scott Agnes published the now infamous paywalled article exposing Caitlin's ankle injury, the same injury the Fever were very clearly trying to keep quiet. He blasted it out, he monetized it, and suddenly the fan base erupted. Blame, arguments, division, confusion, headlines everywhere. Caitlin isn't naive. She knows exactly who Fieldhouse Files is. She knows who Scott Agnes is. She knows what he said, what he wrote, and how it impacted the people who support her most. So when she looked up at that press event and saw him standing there, uninvited in her mind, unexpected, still hovering around her orbit, of course she reacted. Of course she couldn't hide it. This wasn't tension born today. It was tension years in the making. All right, now let's break down the moment itself, frame by frame, reaction by reaction. Because sometimes the truth doesn't come from what someone says. It comes from everything they couldn't hide. The clip begins with what should have been a normal press conference. Cool environment, relaxed vibes. Caitlin just coming off a competitive event, smiling earlier, answering questions casually. Nothing dramatic, nothing tense. And then Scott Agnes opens his mouth. Caitlin, Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files. The second she hears his voice, boom, instant shift. Her chin drops. Her eyes go straight to the floor. Her entire body sinks, like she's bracing for impact. It's not subtle. It's not professional neutral. It's visceral disappointment. There's no attempt to look at him. No polite smile. No acknowledgement like she gives literally every other reporter. Just this aura of, damn, it's him. While he's asking the question, Caitlin's expression is pure, let's get this over with. She doesn't lift her head. She doesn't meet his eyes. She answers, technically, but the difference in tone is night and day compared to how she spoke just moments earlier. Her voice is flat, her energy is gone, her posture stiffens. She speaks like someone trying to perform a chore they didn't sign up for. Yeah, competitive juices. Yeah, golf, competitive. I'm competitive. Golf is competitive. Generic, dry, emotionless. She's not talking to a reporter, she's talking through him, just trying to survive the interaction. Now, contrast that with her response to Caroline Collins, the reporter who asked the next question. As soon as Caroline introduces herself, Caitlin lights up. Smile, warm eye contact, engagement, recognition. She looks like someone seeing an old friend at the airport, relieved. Suddenly, her tone shifts entirely. She's animated. She's laughing. She's sharing stories about family vacations, windows on the plane, St. Petersburg beaches, childhood memories, things she normally keeps to herself. She's open. She's comfortable. She's authentically Caitlin. Two reporters, two questions, two completely different versions of the same person. And the only variable? Who she was looking at. This isn't imagination. This isn't editing. This isn't fans reaching. This is undeniable body language telling a story all on its own. Now, here's where things get really interesting, because Caitlin Clark's reaction to Scott Agnes isn't just about an awkward press moment. It's not just about an injury leak. It's not just about one dark side comment. No, this situation has layers, and every layer adds fuel to the fire burning between Caitlin and the Fever's most polarizing reporter. Let's start with the part people pretend doesn't matter. Caitlin Clark is hyper-aware of her public perception. She's a brand. She's a business. She's the most marketable athlete the WNBA has had in decades. She carries ratings, ticket sales, merchandise numbers, and half the league's oxygen on her back. Everything she does is analyzed. Everything she says is interpreted. Everything she reacts to becomes a headline. So when Scott Agnes publishes a paywalled article exposing an injury the team clearly wanted hidden, Caitlyn knows exactly what happens next. Fans panic. Media swarms. Narratives shift. Multiplying pressure lands directly on her shoulders. And let's be honest, she's already been dealing with enough. Bad officiating, physical targeting, unnecessary controversy, social media wars, endless comparisons. So the last thing she needs is someone inside the building, someone with access, someone with a credential, someone who's supposed to be covering the team, blowing up her situation for clicks. That's not reporting, that's opportunism. And whether people admit it or not, Caitlyn is reading the room. She knows which reporters actually respect her and which ones capitalize off her chaos. But here's where the escalation goes nuclear. Scott Agnes didn't just report news, he positioned himself as a critic of her own fan base. Calling Fever fans the dark side? Implying that Caitlyn's popularity brings negativity to the team? That's not journalism. That's picking a fight with the most loyal, intense, ride-or-die fan base in the WNBA. And guess who that reflects on? Caitlyn. She's the one who has to stand in front of thousands of people every night, smile, sign jerseys, take photos, keep the peace, and represent an organization under a microscope. She doesn't get to clap back. She doesn't get to rant online. She doesn't get to correct the narrative. Reporters can say whatever they want. Caitlyn has to live with the fallout. So when Scott stands up and asks a question, any question, she's not just hearing words. She's hearing every controversy his reporting ignited. Every divide he stirred up, every insult aimed at her supporters. Of course her reaction is cold. Of course her eyes drop. Of course her energy shifts. This isn't just tension. This is disappointment layered on top of resentment wrapped in professionalism. And it finally slipped through the cracks. Now let's dive deeper, past the memes, past the surface-level drama, past the social media hot takes, into the real mechanics behind Caitlyn Clark's reaction. Because this wasn't a moment born from emotion alone. This was a moment built on patterns, psychology, and professional boundaries that Scott Agnes repeatedly pushed just a little too far. First, understand this. Caitlyn Clark is one of the most media-aware athletes in modern sports. She knows body language is public. She knows clips go viral. She knows every shrug, every smirk, every eye roll, every dart of her gaze becomes content. So when someone like her, someone who is usually composed, steady, and measured, lets her guard down, that means whatever she's feeling is no longer just irritation. It's accumulated tension overflowing the cup. Now consider her relationship with the media as a whole. Caitlyn doesn't operate like most rookies. She's already functioning at a LeBron-level spotlight. She's expected to handle pre-game interviews, post-game media, press scrums, national cameras, local beat reporters, fan interactions, social media narratives. And she does it with a maturity you rarely see at 22. But the key is this: she compartmentalizes. There are reporters she trusts, the ones who ask fair questions, respect the team's boundaries, and don't weaponize information. And then there are the ones she tolerates, the ones she knows she has to deal with but keeps at arm's length. Scott Agnes? He has quietly slipped into a third category. People she has to answer but doesn't respect. And you can see it in micro-expressions the average viewer misses. The slight tension in her jaw when he speaks. The immediate downward glance to avoid eye contact. The monotone voice she uses as a shield. The way she shortens her responses. The absence of the trademark Clark smile she gives everyone else. These aren't accidents. These are defense mechanisms. On the flip side, watch her response to Caroline Collins. The smile is instant. Her shoulders relax, her voice brightens, she leans forward. She gives thoughtful, personal stories she's not obligated to share. That's not just comfort, that's trust, which Agnes no longer has. And the deeper truth is this: Caitlyn Clark is learning in real time how to navigate the politics of media relationships in a league starving for coverage but also quick to amplify controversy. She knows what's fair. She knows what crosses a line. She knows who's using her name as a ladder. And Scott Agnes? He climbed one step too high. Now let's zoom out, because this moment between Caitlyn Clark and Scott Agnes doesn't just sit in a vacuum. It didn't happen in some isolated bubble where only two people were involved. No, This moment touches the entire WNBA ecosystem, from media trust to fan culture to how rookies are treated in a rapidly growing league. And whether people want to admit it or not, Caitlin Clark is redefining the media landscape simply by existing. First, let's talk about the WNBA's relationship with its own reporters. The league isn't used to this level of attention. It's not used to millions of non-WNBA fans watching pressers. It's not used to clips from minor interviews going viral on TikTok and Instagram. It's not used to every interaction becoming content for thousands of creators. Caitlin Clark changed that. She brought a new audience, new eyes, new critics, new supporters, and yes, new pressure. So when a reporter like Scott Agnes stirs controversy, even unintentionally, the ripple effect is 10 times larger now. It doesn't just affect journalists. It affects team PR departments scrambling to control narratives, players who suddenly face new scrutiny, national media amplifying local drama, fans who now feel more invested and more defensive, sponsors and brands watching how their athletes are covered. This one awkward moment is actually a case study in how much the WNBA has evolved in just 1 year. Second, let's consider player empowerment. In the NBA, superstars control the room. Certain reporters get access, certain reporters get frozen out. Certain reporters learn the hard way not to cross certain lines. Caitlin Clark is the first WNBA player with that kind of gravitational pull. Not because she demands it, but because her presence forces the ecosystem to adapt. Her reaction to Agnes sends a message without her speaking a single word. I know who respects the boundaries, I know who doesn't, and I don't forget. That's the beginning of superstar media dynamics. Finally, think about the fan base, the most passionate in women's sports. They're watching. They're noticing the difference in how she treats reporters. They're dissecting every clip. They're comparing reactions, tone, language, eye contact, and whether they're right or wrong, they're forming opinions that become part of the cultural narrative. Who protects Caitlin? Who exploits her? Who's fair? Who's biased? Who she trusts? Who she avoids? This isn't small. This isn't petty. This is a shift in the league's power dynamics, led by the rookie who didn't ask for it but can't escape it. At the end of the day, what we witnessed wasn't just a rookie having a bad moment. It wasn't a slip-up. It wasn't immaturity. It wasn't overreaction. What we saw was a superstar learning, in real time, how to navigate the politics, the pressure, and the personalities that come with being the most visible athlete in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark didn't roll her eyes. She didn't sigh. She didn't snap back. She didn't shut the question down. She did something far more revealing. She let her guard down. For 2 seconds. Just long enough for the world to see what she's been carrying. And in those 2 seconds, we saw the truth. She's tired of people who treat her like a storyline instead of a human being. She's tired of reporters who poke the bear and pretend it's journalism. She's tired of being held responsible for controversies she didn't create. She's tired of the narratives, the noise, the tension, the pressure. She handled Scott Agnes the only way she could without breaking professionalism. By giving him nothing. No smile, no warmth, no connection, no acknowledgement beyond the bare minimum. It was the most polite, most controlled, I don't F* with you moment you can have in front of cameras. Because Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's a brand. She's a leader. She's a 22-year-old learning how to carry the weight of a league on her shoulders. And that's exactly why her reaction matters, because it shows that even someone as composed, polished, and corporate-friendly as Caitlin Clark has a limit. It shows that even the golden face of women's basketball has instincts about who respects her and who doesn't. It shows that she's evolving, she's learning, she's protecting herself, she's building mental boundaries in a league that desperately needs its stars to have those boundaries. It shows she understands something veteran superstars had to learn the hard way. Not everyone with a media badge deserves access. Not everyone who asks a question deserves a smile. Not everyone covering the team is covering you with integrity. And maybe, just maybe, this moment will change things. Maybe reporters will think twice before turning Caitlin's name into content fuel. Maybe teams will rethink how injuries are communicated. Maybe players will start recognizing their right to control the narrative. Maybe the WNBA will finally understand what it means to have a true superstar in the building. But one thing is for sure, Caitlin Clark made her feelings known, without saying a single word, and the world heard her loud and clear. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, drop a comment, and subscribe to her Hoops for more unfiltered WNBA analysis you won't hear anywhere else. We'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.